It's interesting, in life, when we are faced with change, oftentimes we resist that. Well, today we're going to talk about how to reduce the resistance to change. So in your life, do you ever find yourself resisting change? Whether that's at home in your personal life, whether that's in the workplace, or whether that's just in society as a whole. It seems like we don't like change. We want things to stay the same. But if you think about it, is that really true? I don't think it is, because on the other hand, we're wanting things to change all of the time. So what's the difference? Why is it that sometimes we don't like the way that things are and we wish things would change? And then there are other times when things are changing and we wish the change wouldn't occur because we want things to stay the same. Well, I believe it's because one is it's initiated from within, and the other is it's being imposed on us from outside. And so we have this feeling that, well, it's not maybe even a feeling, it's all about wanting to be in control. So anytime that change is being imposed upon us, we feel like we are out of control. So let's think about that, because again, we're going to talk about principles. We're going to talk about how our thought processes affect everything that we do. So the way that we see the world, the paradigm through which we look at the world, our beliefs and how they influence everything about our life, and the importance of making sure that our beliefs are based on truth or principles, because most of our beliefs in this life are just beliefs that we've accepted, that have been given to us by other people, by our parents, by society. And because as we are growing up and throughout our life, about 90% of the time we're on autopilot. That means that it's the subconscious part of our brain that's functioning and working. We're not even consciously aware of what we're doing. And so these beliefs that we accept are just beliefs that we have heard or that other people have said or that we've observed, and we just accept them. Our subconscious believes them to be true and then looks for evidence to support that belief. And so we have all kinds of beliefs in the subconscious part of our brain that are not true, and yet we operate by them all of the time. So think about this. There's a change that's occurring that I don't like because I'm uncertain about the outcome that that change is going to create. So I'm comfortable with the way that things are. But my employer wants to change things up. I don't know how that's going to affect my job. I don't know how it's going to affect the overall success of our company. There's all sorts of things that I don't know how it's going to affect. So I feel like I'm now out of control. But what's the truth? Was I in control before? Was there any guarantee that what we were doing or the way that things are would continue to give us what we had gotten in the past? No guarantee at all. We have no control over what happens in the future. So that's a false belief. So one of the foundational principles about this world in which we live is the principle of control. And that principle states that there are only three things that we have control over. And those are our conscious thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. That's it. We don't control anything outside of us. We only have influence. But so now let's talk about control or change that's being imposed upon us from outside. We don't have control over that. We only have influence. So if we understand that, our response to change or to proposed change will be different than if we think that we can control it. If we think that we can control, then we may try to control others, which oftentimes invites exactly what we don't want. If we realize that it's influence, then our approach will be different. It may be more along educating and informing. It may be more about seeking to understand the reasons for the change. And maybe as we understand the reasons, we'll be more on board with the change. The other part is looking at what I can control. So I don't have control over whether or not this change happens, but I do have control over how I respond to it. So once I realize that, I can become aware of my thoughts about the change, and I can ask myself, are those thoughts true? And oftentimes they're probably not. They're about things that I haven't really thought through, and I don't know for sure if those thoughts are true. And so I could look at it and say, I don't know if that's true. I'm afraid that this is going to make my job more difficult. Well, if I look at it from a different perspective, maybe there are some things about this change that's going to make my job easier, or I'm going to be more effective at what I do, or it's going to help my relationships with our clients. There may be all kinds of things that it can do that could benefit me in the job that I'm doing. The second thing that I can look at is, well, what's my emotion connected to that? And if I'm feeling fear, then again, I want to look at that and say, why am I choosing to feel fear? So what is it that I do when I'm in that emotion of fear? How do I behave in response to that fear? And does that get me the outcomes that I want? Or does it create more of what I don't want in my own life? I then have the power to change my emotion again by changing my thoughts. And thirdly, I have complete control over how I behave in response to the change. So one of the things that can change our whole attitude about change is to realize, what, if I don't like the change, and let's say it's in the workplace, if I don't like the change that's happening, well, I'm free to leave. I could go find another job if I want. But if I don't want to, then I need to recognize and take accountability and responsibility of my choice to stay in this job with the change that's occurring. And then I can decide, do I want to be okay and be on board with the change and make the best possible outcome as I can? Or do I want to continue to resist? Do I want to continue to be unhappy and fearful about that? The cool thing about this is you're in control. You're in control of you and the only thing that you ever have control over. So resisting change just often creates more of what we don't want in our life and in our relationships. So I would encourage you, if you find yourself struggling with change, turn your brain on and begin to think about what's going on up here about why I am resisting this change. See if I can change my thinking, change my perspective, which will change my emotion, change my behavior, and change my outcome. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. If you want to know more about who we are and what we do, visit our website at principlebasedliving.com. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, be sure to follow me here.